Clemson's final scrimmage of fall camp isn't just about fine-tuning, and we'll talk about it right here on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked on Clemson, part-time host and producer over on the flagship station, 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Big salute out there to my everydayers. You know who you are. You know how we do it here on Locked On. Exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday, every single week. If you're new to the show, welcome in. Hope you enjoy it. Hey, 75% of viewers are not yet subscribed. So what are you waiting for? Hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you're over on podcast, subscribe as well so you never miss an episode there. We really appreciate it. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Clemson's strengths carry them into the ACC title game. I think that they have the opportunity to go deep in the postseason in 2025. Most people are projecting them to be one of the best teams in college football, so it's not shocking to think that Clemson could be in the ACC title race. They could be in the national championship race, but they need to address their weaknesses. They need to understand their strengths. They need to look at their opportunities and threats in this final scrimmage today, or their playoff dreams could be over before it ends. I'm telling you, scrimmages like this, fall camp, because you don't have a true preseason in college football, this is what it's all about. Making sure that you understand your roster and your depth and what you can and can't do and where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, is the most important thing for what this team is doing right now in the fall, in August, leading up to the game on August 30th against LSU, and then ultimately the 2025 football season. We're now a few weeks into fall camp. Dabo Swinney's first scrimmage was last Saturday, and he gave us a little bit of at least what I believe, a little bit of a blueprint of what he's going to be looking for now in this second and final scrimmage today to get ready for the 2025 season. Strong defense. He wants to see what Tom Allen's defense is doing, how they're improving, how the players are responding, who the playmakers are. Balanced competition in the trenches. He wants to see not only depth, but how well each side is able to manage and adjust and compete against each other, because Clemson's offensive line, as we know, an extremely veteran group of guys. Clemson's defensive line, also a lot of veteran presence there. So could be possibly two of Clemson's strengths going head to head to see how well that they can compete in the trenches and not just have one side like the offense or defense outman or execute the other. Minimal penalties as well. We know we heard from this past weekend that there were a few unfortunate penalties that frustrated Dabo. They'd like to see them clean that up. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not really a bad thing that you're having mistakes, that you're having penalties, that you're having some frustration here and there, because this is the time where you want to iron all those things out. As I mentioned on yesterday's show, the inconsistencies you have to identify early, and you have to figure out how you're going to address them. The inconsistencies on special teams, the inconsistencies in the red zone and the efficiency there, still having some concerns there. Same concerns that we remember from 2024. There's still some things lingering about this team. Third string defense as well. Dabo mentioned struggled to compete. And I know you're saying third string, that shouldn't matter too much, but no, Clemson has to be able to rotate. Teams have to be able to keep guys healthy, keep guys fresh, because it's a longer season, as you know. So this final scrimmage is the last, what you would say, true live environment, because there's no preseason games, to prep before for the season for LSU, and before you start getting into the specific, um, getting ready for that LSU game and game planning for that. Mistakes now are going to continue to show up if you don't figure out how you're going to address them. LSU is a team that we know is going to be dangerous. They're going to be looking to exploit any kind of weaknesses in talent, weaknesses in depth, weaknesses in decision making, inconsistencies. Any elite team is going to try to find specifics to go after you. Inconsistencies in special teams. I know you can make fun of me all you want. I know there's a lot of fans out there that agree with me. Special teams, any area of inconsistency is where your opponent is going to try to go after. Any area of sloppiness in execution. You have to be able to identify those things and clean it up quickly. This is the moment where you figure out not only how where your concerns are, where to clean those up, but also what your rotations are, who your true number ones are. Most of the time, you kind of already know who your number ones are. Your number twos, maybe there's a few question marks here and there. We've discussed them throughout the past couple of weeks. Your number threes, there definitely should be some questions there and some guys trying to get and fight for playing time. You want to confirm who can be trusted, not just in every down situations, but in those extreme pressure situations, because you need as many possible guys you can trust in those really extreme, stressful situations to get to the playoffs. Now, for me, I did a SWOT analysis. I'm a business guy, I'm a Clemson MBA guy. So if you do a SWOT analysis, if you're a business person as well, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, strengths, what I believe, I wrote down defensive depth, creating turnovers. I think Clemson has some guys that we're seeing that we kind of opened our eyes up and said, whoa, I didn't know we would be talking about this guy. I didn't realize this guy would have the pick six. I didn't really think we'd be talking about Tink Kelly. I didn't think we'd be talking about Brandon Strozier. But we are talking about those guys creating opportunities, creating turnovers, creating points and momentum shifts, and demanding a second look, a third look, and trust from the coaching staff. So defensive depth is starting to build out. I want to continue to see more positive from that. Balanced offensive line and defensive line competition. I think Clemson, one of their strengths there are the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They need to keep that up. And the lack of penalties. I think that was another good thing that we heard from Dabo Swinney. There wasn't a ton of penalties in scrimmage one. You want to continue to play clean. Now, the frustrating ones were still there in the red zone, but you want to continue to play clean for the most part. Weaknesses, as we talked about yesterday, the punter battle still unresolved. We don't really know what's going on there. It's a three-man race. Nolan Hoosier, Nolan Hoosier, what his average is, what his consistency looks like, and then the red zone touchdown rate needs to improve. Opportunities that we've seen is Gideon Davidson, CJ Kuba Taylor, those guys earning trust while other players are out. And then finally, the big threat for me is LSU and the mismatch that you could have in certain positions. We've mentioned it for the past couple of weeks that LSU is extremely talented. LSU has a lot of speed, especially when it comes to their offense versus Clemson's defense. Clemson's got to be careful with getting caught and looking in the backfield and having one of those speed demons break open a big play. You do not want your opposing team you do not want to give easy, big time, explosive plays to your opposing offense like LSU, because they will be able to feed off that and continue to kill you up and down the field for the entire game. It's not going to be good. And speaking of red zone efficiency with the offense being one of those opportunities, one of those weaknesses that Clemson needs to look at, I want to talk about that a little bit further. And that's where I think Clemson must improve, not only from 2024 to 2025, but specifically for the LSU game. And I want to talk about why. But before we jump into the next segment, I've got something special for you diehard fans out there. Ever want more Clemson content? I know you do. Join the Locked On Clemson Insider Program. You'll get one-on-one access to me through text message directly. We can talk all week, however much you want. You can send in your questions for my mailbag episodes throughout the season and be part of the conversation all season long. There's even a 14-day free trial. So you check out risk-free. In the description, there's a link. Go check it out over on Subtext. Hey everybody, August 26th is officially FanDuel's Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who want to live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown the Super Bowl champ before even week one kicks off, this is your moment. If you go over to fanduel.com, their sports book right now, you can look at their futures for the NFL regular season MVP for this season. You've got Lamar Jackson, you've got Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, and Justin Herbert, to name a few. I think after watching one episode of Hard Knocks, I'm going to go back with Josh Allen again for the 2025 season and that MVP race. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Clemson must start finishing their drives with touchdowns. They must get to the red zone and execute, not just field goals, and definitely not walking away with no points. The best teams that you play are not going to allow you to walk away in the red zone easy. You have to grind. You have to be ready for anything, and you have to be ready to put up a fight. I think Clemson has an offense that can attack and win out against anyone. But we know that Clemson sputtered a little bit last season when it came to getting into the red zone. They must finish drives with more touchdowns. Again, not just field goals. Teams like LSU will not forgive wasted red zone trips over and over and over. Clemson cannot get into the habit of that again. The first scrimmage, Cade Klubnik took a sack on first down in the red zone and got backed up. When the backup quarterback, Christopher Vizina, was in, he got into the red zone and got dinged for a procedural penalty. So both players, both quarterbacks, were causing similar issues in the red zone in their first scrimmage. They've got to clean that up. Clemson's 2024 red zone scoring ranked just 49th nationally, scoring on 86.54% of trips, but scoring touchdowns on only 59.62%. So basically 60% of the time. So out of 10 trips to the red zone, 6 were touchdowns, and the other 4 were not. So this matters because, as I mentioned to you in the last episode, I want you to enjoy watching Clemson football, but I want you to be an informed Clemson football fan. I want you to be as prepared as possible for the start of the 2025 season. And when it comes to talking about the punter position and field position, that's extremely important in these close games. We know what the opponents have been telling us, what the Gamecock fans have been telling us, the LSU fans, the SEC homers have been saying. You can't beat us. You've lost to us 3 out of 4 times. You can't beat Louisville either. All the hardest games of your season in 2024, you didn't do well. You lost. Field position matters in the difficult games. Red zone execution wins games, not just in the difficult games, but all the games. A sack, a penalty, anything that forces something to go backwards when you are as close as possible. That's where, again, it causes more stress on your offensive play calling. It causes more stress on your offense as a whole, and frustrations start to build. Predictable play calls in the red zone are dangerous as well, because if the defense keys in on the right thing, not only will you maybe not convert or leave points on the field, but you could get all the way up and march 99 yards down the field to then throw an interception or get a turnover or have a touchback from the defense. LSU's defense is very strong, extremely talented. Their front line, their linebackers, some of the best in the game. They're going to be extremely difficult to crack in tight spaces. They're going to have aggressive fronts. They're going to have safeties that are eager to get to the backfield, that are eager to jump routes. Clemson has to be able to prove that they can be composed. You don't have to be perfect, but they need to be consistent. They need to protect Cade Klubnik. They need to win those contested catches, and they need to move up in the national ranks in their red zone conversions. A little bit under 60% touchdown rate in 2024. I want to see that improve. I want to see that get closer to 70, maybe even more, because that's the mark of a truly effective and dangerous offense. Because we all know it gets, when you have open space and everything like that, it makes it a little bit easier when you have room to run around. You can rely on other things, but when you're in a confined area, it's you versus the man in front of you, and you have to be able to win those one-on-ones. The first scrimmage, some of those mistakes that we heard from, even though they were little things, and I'm telling you, I write down the little things that Dabo says, because to me, we only get 30 minutes with him. So if it's significant enough for him to mention, then to me, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm not, I am a typical nervous fan. So I'll tell you that as a disclaimer. But the first scrimmage to me mirrored some of the same, perked my ears up on some of the same inefficiencies from 2024, especially when it comes to the red zone. Now, the best thing is that Tristan Smith, TJ Moore, Tyler Brown, these guys all were noted as making contested and difficult grabs in the end zone. So the group of wide receivers that you have to be as confident or more confident than maybe even leading all the way back to those national championship teams. This group of wide receivers is extremely well-rounded, has a list of more than a handful of guys, at least 5, I would say 6 guys that you feel like you can trust on any given snap and in the red zone scenarios. So Clemson's wide receiver group should be able to help Cade Klubnik this year be extremely efficient in the red zone. They got to take away those penalties, get rid of those mistakes, don't take any sacks, and communicate properly, and then ultimately win those battles. And speaking of winning battles in tight areas, the offensive line communication will be key and critical in the red zone as well. Of course, everything falls apart if there's depth concerns, not only on the offense, but the defense. We're hearing some rumblings from the Clemson Insider, our friends over there, that there have been some injuries here and there. I haven't been able to confirm them specifically, but I trust what they're saying over there, that there have been some dinged up players, dinged up starters. I don't know how significant they have been, but I will say that we'll find out tomorrow, or we'll find out Thursday when we talk to Dabo later on after the scrimmage. So, of course, everything hinges on having healthy players, having them all working together, and being able to identify your starters early, and then keep the repetitions going, so where you practice to a point where you build in those habits. That's when Clemson will be able to get to that ultimate level of execution. But I want to see better red zone execution. I hope to hear more better red zone execution as we get Dabo Swinney post final scrimmage Thursday. All right, we're going to finish up the show talking about some defensive depth and some of Dabo's frustrations with the third string guys and why that's important. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. My family members that I'm staying with here in Georgia, they recently moved into this house and they have been able to get a lot of their furniture and the things they need for their new home with quick delivery, super convenient, fast and free, even if it was something bigger than you thought. And it would take a longer time to get there. It was very quick and the perfect time to get everything ready to host me as I'm doing my flight training here in Georgia. Get organized, stay refreshed, get back to the routine for far way less. Head over to wayfair.com right now and shop all the things for your home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Clemson starters can compete and battle with anyone in the country. I believe that true and true, through and through. I know you believe the same. The starters, you feel very good about them. The second string, you're starting to feel them build up and get more confidence. But it's a long season. You never know what could happen. There could be guys out here and there. There could be times during the season where rotation is needed a little bit more than others. Coach Dabo Swinney praised the starters, but specifically took time to call out the third string defense in the first scrimmage. And he said they did not compete like they needed them to in the first scrimmage. So Thursday's scrimmage, today's scrimmage is the last live shot to prove that the twos and the threes can execute and compete at a high level. When you have guys like in the secondary, Tink Kelly, Shelton Lewis, those guys are guys that I like to hear. I feel like Tink Kelly is one of those playmakers that you just need to have on the field. You don't know exactly where he fits in, but you need to try him out in different spots to where you can get him to where he can be effective. He's already gotten a pick six. So I want to see him and hear more from him and hope that he continues to build on that. Shelton Lewis, to me, is one of those guys I think is going to have a big season in 2025. So whether he plays corner or nickel or possibly in the Tiger position, I'm curious where he'll end up finishing out or settling in. But I do believe you're going to hear and see Shelton Lewis's name a lot and his number called a ton. For the safety position, that's also a big question mark. Will it be Rob Billings? Will it be Kyron Webb? Will it be Kyron Webb? Will it be Kylan Griffin? Will it be Tyler Venables? Will it be, who knows? Someone else like Ricardo Jones. There's a good list of guys that we know that are going to be in the rotation, but who will work out to be the actual starters in the secondary at the safety position is a big question for me still. Haven't heard it 100% yet, but it seems as if Clemson is plugging and playing and trying out a few different guys to see who can fit in there well. The linebacker rotation, we kind of feel pretty strong about Wade Woodaz and Sammy Brown. Maybe I would say not pretty strong. We feel extremely confident about Wade Woodaz and Sammy Brown. I'm starting to feel more and more confident about the progression of Jeremiah Alexander. We heard some good news some good praise from Dabo Swinney on Drew Woodaz and Jamal Anderson. Kobe McLeod needs to get in there and fight for a rotation spot as well. And we heard about CJ Kuba Taylor being that big hit guy. How will they rotate those guys in and out? Will we get to see a ton of them? I think the fan hope and my hope is you probably don't want to see a ton of your backup linebackers because your starting linebackers are so good. You probably don't want to see a ton of your backup cornerbacks, but I do trust your backup cornerbacks better in the rotation than your backup linebackers right now. I'd rather see more of the Woodaz, Alexander, Brown mix of guys. And then in the cornerbacks, I want to see kind of like Terrell, Gibson, Strozier, maybe throw in Tink in there, Lewis wherever he's needed. I'm feeling as if we have a good foundation of cornerbacks, more than I thought going into the summer. So I'm getting more confident, more high on the cornerbacks. I feel extremely strong about the starting linebackers. Still got a lot of questions about the backup linebackers. Defensive line depth as well. Vic Burley had a lot of pressures and sacks in scrimmage number 1. What will he do, and will he be able to carry that forward in the second scrimmage? Steph Island Green and Jaheim Lawson, where are they going to be in the mix? They've got to be your second string. Are they going to back up? Is Jaheim Lawson going to back up Will Help? I would assume that would be likely, or maybe TJ Parker. Steph Island Green, is he going to be able to take the next step and back up Peter Woods or DeMonte Capehart? You need to have a good rotation of guys. Vic Burley's name out there made me pretty excited as well to see what he can do, because we've been waiting a little bit to see what happens with him. Clemson has names that you just haven't seen them as much, and you don't know how much you can really trust them yet. Now is the time to get them those reps to see if it was just a fluke on last Saturday. Maybe they just had a good scrimmage, or maybe on the opposite. Maybe the negative plays or the lack of competition in those second and third string guys was just a fluke as well, in the opposite direction. So this is the time now for the players to show, hey, I can rebound from my bad session, or I can continue my good execution so far. Because I'm telling you, again, when it comes to depth, it's going to be tested. And it's going to be tested week 1. LSU's offense is going to test every single defender out there, from the tight end position to the wide receivers to the running backs and the quarterback. LSU has all the pieces to stress Clemson out in every way, shape, and form. Worst case scenario is they head into week 1 against LSU in their home stadium, and Clemson's backups or rotational guys can't hang, because then as an offensive coordinator, all you got to do is find that one or two guys you can pick on, and it's off to the races, because that's the kind of talent that LSU has at quarterback and LSU has at their skill positions as well. It's going to be a heated battle between the Tigers. Clemson has to be ready, championship ready week 1, because this is that caliber of a game. I appreciate everyone being a part of the show here on a Thursday. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And to my everydayers, thank you so much for hanging out with me today towards the end of the show. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.